Good morning. Pastor Richard here, care pastor of Bible Center Church. I hope you've enjoyed the 9 onlines like I have the last couple of days. I'm looking forward to seeing more. Have you ever thought about how close most of us really want others to be around us when we are hurting? A child scrapes his or her knee and cries out to their parents, especially mom, who cares and comforts them. A friend loses a loved one, and your ministry of presence is comforting to them. A family member is faced with a medical situation, and you want to share it with every prayer warrior you know in order for them to pray. Well, today's passage is found in Mark chapter 7, verses 31 through 37, and I'd like to read that to you. Then Jesus left the vicinity of Tyre and went through Sidon, down to the Sea of Galilee and into the region of Decapolis. There some people brought to him a man who was deaf and could hardly talk, and they begged Jesus to place his hand on him. After he took him aside, away from the crowd, Jesus put his fingers into the man's ears. Then he spit and touched the man's tongue. He looked up to heaven with a deep sigh and said to him, "Ephphatha," which means be opened. At this the man's ears were opened, his tongue was loosened, and he began to speak plainly. Jesus commanded them not to tell anyone, but the more he did so, the more they kept talking about it. People were overwhelmed with amazement. He had done everything well, they said. He even makes the deaf hear and the mute speak. Jesus ends up healing a deaf and mute man because his friends loved and cared enough to find healing from the only one who could do it. In this passage, the Bible says some people in verse 32. Now, we don't know if they were family or friends, co-workers or neighbors, but we read that they were aware of this man's medical conditions, for he was deaf and mute. Somewhere the friends had heard about Jesus and his miracles, so they went to arrange a meeting for this man and Jesus. The passage even says that they begged Jesus to put his hand on him. They knew that Jesus had the power to heal this man, and they loved the man enough to take him to where Jesus could heal him. Jesus takes the man away from the crowd and does what no other doctor or medicine or surgeon could do. But through the power of God, he heals the man where he could hear and speak clearly. Can you imagine how the man felt? Can you imagine the gratefulness this man had toward his friends? I believe that the first words the man heard were Jesus' words of comfort, truth, and encouragement. Now, while we can't promise that Jesus will heal everyone from every illness, we can promise that Jesus can heal them of their brokenness. To love the hurting, I believe it will take a couple of actions on our part. Number one, to love the hurting well, we have to believe that Jesus truly is the answer to all of our hurts. Do you really believe that? Are you convinced that Jesus is the answer for all of our hurts, hang-ups, and habits? I trust that you do. Number two, to love the hurting well, we have to know about others' needs. This would entail being open and connected with them. How connected are you with others? Is there people in your life that you care enough for them to share life with you? I hope so. We were created to connect. Number three, to love the hurting well, we have to do what we can to introduce them to Jesus, inviting them into our lives or bringing them to church when we can again, or taking them to a church event, or inviting them into your community group, or simply just being Jesus to them. In this passage today, we can see all three of these actions that the deaf-mute man's people had done, and the result was life-changing, not only for the man, but also for those who loved him. During any time, but especially today, we have a chance to love those who are hurting. There are people who are deaf to the truth found in the Scriptures, and we have the opportunity to love them well. The hope we have is to be shared like beautiful sounds we enjoy, to those who are hearing a lot and saying a lot that is empty and vain. We are not asked to be reservoirs of knowledge, but channels of blessings. Let's be aware of the open doors that God gives us, so more can hear and speak the truth as we love them well. Now here's the thought for the day. There will be stories to tell when we love the hurting well. Have a blessed day.